Hello everybody, XPGamer here, or XPGamesNL, whatever. Call me what you want to call me. Today I wanted to do a different video. A lot of people are not used to me speaking English on this channel, but today I will, just because of the entire purpose of this video, which is educating people in how to use FEBuilder. So I've been around pretty while in the ROM hacking community, are not really that much involved, but I've signed up for FE Universe, and I've had a little experience with, probably not little, but let's call it just medium, okay? I've got some good experience with FEBuilder, and I decided that it might be nice to share it with you guys because some of the stuff I wanted to do was a little bit more complex, and you really had to figure stuff out yourself. I taught myself how to use FEBuilder, and it's really easy once you get into it. But today I just wanted to go quickly over how to make your own character and how to just understand the basics of FEBuilder. Now, if you watch this video, I hope you already have FEBuilder installed. If not, then just Google around on the internet. You'll quickly find the places where you can download it, etc., etc. I'm just doing the basic tutorial here. So today's tutorial is going to be on how to make your own character. If I'm being honest, I don't think the characters in my hack that I have currently, or the characters I've finished currently in my Fire Emblem hack, are not balanced at all, or maybe a little bit. That is because I like stats and numbers quite a bit, but I'm not the perfectionist. I'm not like, oh, you need to be precisely this to be fairly balanced. And you don't have to make your characters perfectly balanced. It's okay to have really good and really bad units that can cause some fun discussions and makes it real fun. Today I just wanted to show you what you all can do, what you can do with FEBuilder. So first of all, I grabbed a clean ROM, which I'm going to use as my tutorial ROM. And what you all see here, first of all, if you're new to FEBuilder, just forget the numbers for now. We're getting to all of this. We're getting over there later. For now, let's just focus on this part up here. It's pretty simple. For example, if we start off with everything, you don't have to worry about hex address, address count, size. You really don't have to worry about these numbers up here. That is just FEBuilder telling you where everything is stored. You don't have to worry about that unless you're going really deep into code and stuff. If you're just plainly changing things and not adding new stuff, you really don't have to worry about that. So if you're just like me in this video changing Seth, you don't have to worry. And also for, I wanted to just tell you real quick, you have these weird blank enemies here. For as far as I'm aware, these blank enemies are not used anywhere in the ROM, so they're just blanks. You can fill them in with a character if you want to. For an example, if you wanted to create an extra Hayden, you could just simply grab 2D because it seems empty. It doesn't have an affinity. There's nothing, no weapon ranks, only really generic growths, no extra stats. These are just blanks. You can fill them in if you'd like. And there are a couple of other instances like that of characters that are not being used. For an example, there are a couple of enemies over here that are not being used. These have a map portrait though, which I find a little bit weird. But for as far as I'm aware, all the enemies that are, all these characters that are called enemies are not used anywhere in the ROM, so you can just change them if you really want to. But for now, let's focus on Seth, because Seth has already a lot of them filled in. And so I wanted to take a look with you guys at Seth. Now, for the most part, when we sort of go from top to bottom, we see that all these numbers I said, you don't have to worry about them. Then we quickly go to the name and the details. Well, for most people, you know that in the Fire Emblem Game Boy Advance, you have like the help function, in which if you press R, I thought it was, it is R. I should stop being so insecure, but it's just R. If you press R, you can see the description of a character or a class or something. The details button here, it's the unit description, so if you press R on the character's name, then that will change. If there's something I really like about FEBuilder, it is that it can create really nice shortcuts. For an example, almost everything that has this little line underneath, you can click on those and they'll bring you to a different area where you can edit where you click down. For an example, if I go to Seth, then I have to quickly switch that over here. Boom. Then you can see that over here we have the text which says Seth. Now, if you wanted to change Seth's name, for an example, we're going to change Seth into a horrible version of Seth. We're going to call him R.I.P. Seth. And we click OK. Anti-Huffman. If FEBuilder, by the way, just as is asking now, FEBuilder recommends certain patches to be installed. The best thing usually is to just accept that. If it asks for like a patch to be installed, it's best to do that. That's just a small tip. FEBuilder knows what's best. So, of course. If we go back to the Seth menu, we click on details. Oh, thank you for pointing that out. You can here edit the description, like a young commander of Renee. He's calm, composed, and skilled. You could like edit that in any way you want. Let's say we change this into he's derp, just so you can see that if I edit this, then it will be edited in game. So that's now edited. I gotta get this quickly out of the way, and so you can see that Seth's name has been changed into R.I.P. Seth, and his description has been changed for a little bit. Now you have the ID. This is also really nice about FEBuilder. If you hover over a box and you do not know what it does, FEBuilder will usually tell. This is just the ID of a unit, and it really doesn't matter that much. It's like, oh, this is ID 1, ID 2, ID 3. It's just so the program and all of the ROM, etc. knows that this is a character with ID. That you shouldn't change this. Don't screw around with it. Only when copying, for an example, you wanted to copy Seth to like a blank slot like this, like 2D. If you wanted to copy Seth to 2D, then the ID is still 2. Seth's ID is 2. You have to change this to 2D to avoid confusion in the program. So you have support class over here. Now, support class really doesn't do that much. The only thing it's really useful for is when you go to the support conversation menu in game. You will see that every character has their standard class in which they joined. For an example, Seth is a paladin. Franz will always be a cavalier, even when you promote him on the save file. Cormac will always be a wyvern rider, etc., etc. So I do recommend changing this, because when we go to the numbers and stuff, it does have a little effect. But for now, we're just going to change this into a sniper. Now you can see that class number 13 and 14 are both Myrmidons. That's because there are a male and female version of most classes, and the first one is always male and the second one is always female. So we changed it to 1C because the female classes always come in second, and so you put it in there. Seth is now a female sniper. For portrait, we can be really simple, or you can click on this, but you'll go to the simple class menu if you wanted to take a deeper look into the classes. Not necessarily useful now, because a class of a unit is actually determined when you place them on a map, when they join for the first time. But for now, let's move on to the portrait. Now the portrait, if I can open the menu real quick, there you go. The portrait menu is pretty straightforward. You have every single character with a portrait listed here. For an example, this is Erica, and most portraits also have a version of them with their eyes closed. Let's say we wanted to replace the portrait of Seth, which we clearly want to. Let me quickly take a look at where I have it, because we wanted to change Seth into like the most derpiest Seth ever. Let's see. There you go. This is now the new Seth. I know it's disgusting, but that's the purpose of this new Seth. And you see over here, you must focus your attention when you import a new portrait. This is a little bit of knowledge about portraits. You must always focus your attention on this image right here. Because in Fire Emblem Game Boy Advanced, characters have talking and blinking frames, and those must line up in this picture. For an example, you see the mouth of Seth here is a little bit out of place. We just press the X button. Oh, that's for the eyes. Excuse me. You see here that you can move these frames, and you have to place them in a way that they line up with the portrait. And you can test if they work right here. If I press this button, it will start playing the frames of the animation, and we can see that Seth actually is able to talk and blink pretty well. He's doing his job. Alright, so that's how you edit the portraits. This is the Minimag, by the way. For normal characters, this is just the tiny version of themselves. I just changed it into text. You can do that if you're funny and if you want to. About Minimugs, a little more about Minimugs. If we close this for a second and we go back to the original menu, this is not changed yet due to FEBuilder not having loaded this, but if I double click, boom, it's loaded now. So, as I was speaking about Minimugs, you can set a map portrait for every single character in the game. I won't recommend doing this for playable characters or important NPCs. Because if we take a look at Erica, for an example, Gilliam, Franz, Mulder, just any character that you can play as, such as Lara Shell, another random example. Now you can see that their map portrait is all set to 0. This is because map portrait 0 allows the Minimag in a portrait to be displayed. For in Seth's case, that is that little Bab thing I made. That will be displayed instead of this map portrait. The map portraits are only for generic enemies or green units. Unless you are not fond of making Minimugs, you can always set these map portraits instead. But for the most part, if you're just trying to practice, I recommend just keeping Minimugs in and trying to recolor them or edit them. That's what I did at first as well. Instead of making and splicing new portraits, I just recolored. So now we've covered all that you can change the portrait, the map portrait, and the portrait of Seth. We now have this over here. Let's quickly cover this. This is pretty unknown to what it does to me. I really do not know what it does. Just keep it that way. If you change it, then probably something bad happens. But I do think that this is like when you have Erica. Erica's number 1, so if you press the L button, I thought it was, on a Game Boy, then, or Game Boy Advance, then the cursor will move to a unit that hasn't been moved yet. And in case of Erica, Erica would come first, then unit with sort order 2, which I think is Ephraim. No, also has 1. I do not know which character has 2 then, but they will go in order. So Erica will come first, and then Seth will come as number 3. Gilliam will come as number 7. It will go from 1 to 2 to 3, and really doesn't matter that much. If you want a character to be specifically first in the list, then you can do that, but otherwise it's not important. Affinity may be a little important. Like most of you guys know that you can get supports in Fire Emblem Game Boy Advance, and every support is affected by the affinity of a character. You can set that here. Every affinity has its own effects. Let's put Ice affinity on Seth for now. And then you have support data. I really do not know what this is actually. This is just for text, not really important. This is the support data. If I go to the support data real quick, you can see over here that we've got a list of support partners and characters. We can see over here we have 5 support partners, which are Franz, Erica, Garcia, Natasha, and Cormag. And these are the turns you have to wait. That's the value of turns you have to wait. And here's a little bit more useful information about that. You do have to, if you create a support for a character, you must make sure that Seth has a support with Franz and Franz has a support with Seth. That needs to be a thing. Because if not, then the game will sort of freak out and it just doesn't like it. This is, I think, the value they need to reach, or this is, you have to use a little bit of math for this. So a C rank is unlocked with at level 51 to B0. That's, I don't really know what it is out of the back of my head, but it's just a character starts out on an initial value, and every turn they spend next to each other, they will grow with a certain pace. So if you want to make a support go fast, you set it to 3 for an example, as with Erica. Erica has a fast support with Seth because it grows by 3, and the others are just average 2, so it grows rather slow. And as you can see here, the support value between the starting value between Cormag and Seth is 0. That means that they have to spend longer next to each other than, for an example, Natasha, who already has a little bit of initial value. It's a little bit hard to explain, but you'll figure it out eventually, I think. If you just play around with it, that's the biggest thing about FEBuilder. Just practicing and playing around with the program, it helps a lot in teaching you stuff. So back to the character creator. Now we're going to dive into the numbers and stuff. So really the only things you have to worry about when creating a character, if you want it to function and you really don't care about the stats, if you just want to try create a character and later look into stats, then you only have to look into these 2 rows and maybe this one at the bottom. Because the third one, I'll come to that when I've explained the 2 at the top. This is the unit's base stats. In FEBuilder, you have to set these. And what happens is, if you set a unit's base stats, they will be added up to the class basis of a certain character. So, for an example, Seth is a female sniper now. These are Seth's base stats. If he didn't have a class, he would have had 7 HP, 7 strength. It's called power because FEBuilder, if we go to magic unit real quick, doesn't call it strength or magic. That's determined in-game. That's not determined here, but in-game. So it's just called power here. Skill, speed, defense, resistance, luck. You know what it does. You've probably played this game before. Now what you see here is that every base class sort of has 0 luck, or every class has 0 base luck, so you have to always set that with the character. There's no class in the game that has base luck. So you have the base stats here. Let's say we want to make Seth a really powerful but low defense sniper. We could set this to 0, and we could set this to 12 or something, and then you can see that Seth has a lot of attack and a really low defense stat. Just if you want to know, by the way, how Seth looks in game, you could either start grabbing the class chart with all the classes and stats of the classes, but what you can do instead is just type in a number here. You see that Seth is supposed to be a base level 1 sniper. We could set that to level 5. So if you're creating a hack and you want your Jagan to be level 5 warrior or something, you can set that over here. And you can put the 5 instead of this 20 over here, and then you will see if I press enter that the program will generate random numbers, or they seem random but they're not random at all. What the game does is, for stat calculator, it just grabs the base stats of the support class and adds them up to the base stats of the character. So what we can see here is that Seth has 7 base HP. That must mean that the female archer has 19 base HP. The female sniper class has 19 base HP. Now we can check that real quick. If I just save this and go to the support class chart and allow you guys to see that real quick. There you go. Let's see. It has 19 base HP. So as you can see, I have proven by using the ultimate math that Seth has a base 26 health, because his base 7 HP and the class HP combined makes 26. So if I were to change the numbers here, let's say 18 strength for a sniper, that's a little bit too high. No worries, we change that to 15 for an example by editing Seth's base stats. So you can edit this individually and you don't have to worry about like doing that for a class to fit a character. You can fit a character, you can make a character to fit a class and not the class to character. So what that means is you don't have to dive into the class stats unless you really want to. And you can just try and play around here to edit the stats of Seth. Now, before we move on to something else I want to explain about the base stats, I quickly wanted to go to Erica, because as you can see, aside from the 5 base luck Erica has no base stats. That is because the Erica class is supposed to be her base stats. The Erica Lord class stats are Erica's base stats. Just to cover that really quickly, that's Erica's bases. She doesn't have them over here, she has them stored in her own class. So when we would reclass Erica to like a Cavalier or something, you will see that Erica is a horrible Cavalier, because she just has really bad base stats. Going back to Seth, what you can also do if you're like, well, Seth as a level 5 sniper, he still has too much defense. Even though a female sniper has 5 base defense, I really find that too high for Seth. You can say, well, we'll make this number negative. That works as well, so you don't have to lower the bases of the female sniper class. Let's change it to 2 defense, because archers aren't meant to be on the front line anyway, unless you have 1-2 range short bows. But those aren't in vanilla Fire Emblem, and this is a pretty vanilla ROM, so let's not change that. So now we have covered the calculator and the unit base stats, we could also go to the growth rates. Now, you can also do something pretty funny with growth rates. If we wanted to make Seth like the beast damage dealing sniper, we could say, well, we want the growths to be higher, and you'll see that the summarized growths go up here. And I think for every 5 or like 10 or something like that, for every 5 or 10%, or I think it's just 5 for unpromoted characters, the estimated caps for the character go up by 1. You can do some really funny stuff with this, like if I wanted to make Seth's growth like 200, I can do that. And what this means is whenever Seth gets a level up, he will always level 2 points of strength instead of 1. And we could even extend this to 255, which means that every level up, Seth will have an automatic 2+ points in strength, and there's a 55% chance to level another point of strength, so to get 3 points of strength in a level up. And as you can see, the estimated level 20 female sniper Seth will have around 53 base strength. Well, that's far above the cap, so you will never get that. But you can edit growths here. You can't make them negative though. That's really, yeah, it's unfortunate. But let's say Seth should have a 15% defense growth because we want him to be a frail 2-range unit. We can change that over here. And what you can see is if we go change like growth a bit, let's change this to 120 for an example, you will see that the numbers of the stat calculator start changing here as well. What you can do with this is just change this, and this will just added the estimated how a unit ends up. You can just type in like, oh boy, I wonder what Seth would be when he became a level 10 female sniper. Well, the game will sort of try to guess what his stats would be. If he got some average level ups, which is like not really good level ups, but also not really bad, Seth is estimated to have around these stats when he becomes a level 10 female sniper. And this is pretty handy to use when you are like creating an unpromoted character. So Erica, for an example, is unpromoted and you're like, are these growths too high or too low? Then you can quickly type in, well, what if Erica became a level 15 Lord? You could see what her stats are supposed or kind of going to look like. And if they're too high, you can always lower them by editing growths and maybe even bases. And you can do the same thing for like if they're too low, you can always make them higher if you really want to. So that is another thing that you can do with the stat calculator. So if you want to edit base stats and growths, you can quickly calculate that. You can use this tool for various purposes, but for now we're gonna leave it because I've played around with numbers enough for now. Let's talk about weapon ranks. So not only does a character have weapon ranks of their own, but they will also get those of a class. For Seth, he has swords and lances because he's a paladin, but those don't really fit a female sniper because a female sniper uses bows. We're going to set this to an A rank in bows. Every weapon rank needs 31 points to level up to the next. So if we want, for an example, a C rank, you have to just 31 and then plus 31 would make, no, that's not correct. Math. And we need 71. Whatever. You'll figure it out yourselves. You have to set weapon ranks here. And there's also something else you can do. If you really like, which I did in my ROM hack, if you want to say like, well, I really like armor knights and lances and such, but I want to make a armor knight that can use axes while the entirety of the class can't, you can actually set that here. So if we set like, well, I found a really cool animation for lances on female snipers, you could keep Seth's lance rank, and Seth will be able to use lances and level the lance weapon rank, while the female sniper class is still limited to bows. In that way you can actually create characters that can hold unique weapons, while the other characters in the game in the same class can't. Which is pretty funny, I think. You can create unique characters and unique concepts with that. So that is everything about the weapon ranks. You could also like set the weapon ranks of a class to be completely 0 and regulated by character. So let's say you want an armor knight to use only swords, one to use only lances, and one to use only axes. You just change the weapon rank of regular armor knights to 0, and then you can set them for a character individually. That will mean though that generic enemies won't be able to use anything, so you have to give every single enemy that is an armor knight, you may need to make them their own unique character that can use lances, axes, etc. You have to look into that. That's character specific weapon ranks. If you're a little bit more advanced, could be fun to do. So now we actually come to one of the most fun parts about creating a character, aside the growth stats and such. We can give them special perks. Now, the funny thing is, when we go to the character chart with the character things, hold on. Let's see, the class thing. Over here you can see that there are like, we have the same perks. We can set those for classes. But they're also present when we have a character. We can also set them for characters. The thing is, you can either set classes to have a special perk, like, oh, I really think snipers are underrated, so we can change the critical boost. But if you only want that to be for one specific sniper character, you can actually do the same thing with the character by ticking this box. So let's make Seth a sniper with extra critical hit. We can set it there. Extra critical hit boost. These are standard for sword masters, berserkers, and the super trainees. We can set that over here. So you can actually create special movement or special perks for characters that don't necessarily fit their class. Which you can also do really fun stuff with. If you have, like, let's say R.I.P. Seth, because he really doesn't look that good. He's a little bit bad looking. He wants to restore his former old self, and therefore he went into the criminal business. We can give him the steal ability, even though female snipers usually don't allow to steal. We'll give him the steal ability so he can steal items from enemies that have lower speed. I'm going to explain all of these really shortly because they are pretty short to explain. So, mounted aid calculation is set for flyers and just anything with a mount, and it just helps with calculating the aid stat for rescuing. When you're a cavalier, your base con is not affected by this, or it's just you can rescue people that are have much higher con because you're on a mount, and people can rescue you on a mount because you were on a mount, but your actual con is a lot lower. That's what this just does. That is set to all the mounted classes, really nothing important. We don't want that on Seth. Kanto. Now I think this also works even if you're an unmounted character. So let's just give Seth Kanto so he can run away. We don't want to make him a frontline character. Instead, we want to do everything necessary to keep Seth from the front lines, give the player all the options to keep Seth at the front lines. The Thief skill allows for fog vision, opening doors with lockpicks, and yeah. Oh, and apparently enemies with this characteristic grant bonus experience in combat. That's a thing I've noticed also in Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Thieves grant way more experience than any other class in the game. Well, aside maybe some of the really high-level bosses, but yeah. Dancer, well, speaks for itself, allows to dance and refresh. The play command. So we could actually make Seth a dancer if we want to. I would like to test that. Or we could just put that on Erica real quick. Put the dancer on Erica so we can use Seth 2 times the same turn. Ballista asses, well, that's necessary for every bow unit, but this is standard for the sniper class and the archer classes, so Seth doesn't really need this to be set, but if you really want to make sure that Seth can assess sniper or ballistas, you can double secure it by ticking this box. Seth is a promoted unit. Let's tick that box. That is set for all the standard promoted classes in the game. Really not important to put here, but just for personal reference, it might just be handy to do that. Supply, well, if you wanted to create a Merlinus character, I do not know if that functions, there's a patch in FEBuilder which assigns a unit with the supply thing, and that is Erica. You can always change that. That's not really the problem here. Just untick that box for now. Cavalry unit, well, Seth is not a cavalier. We can make him a wyvern though. Then just in the menus, he will have a little wyvern head next to him. I think it looks cool, so let's keep that. The Lord unit, this is an interesting one. So these icons all are self-explanatory. The Lord unit is so the game recognizes a character and a class to be the main character. And it allows a character with this box ticked to seize and access the supply or something like that. You have to combine this with the main character. If we quickly go to Erica, Erica has this in her class set for her, so we don't have to worry about that now. Seth is a female sniper. Tick that box, just so you know that a character is female, just to make sure. We can set a character to be a boss. Now, for as far as I'm aware, the boss icon appears if you make it, or if you tick a character to be a boss, then a character will have this icon displayed. That only works for enemy characters though, not for playable ones and not for NPCs. Only enemy characters will have the boss icon, and when recruiting them it disappears. So yeah. Then you have weapon lock 1. This is an unused weapon lock. You can set a weapon lock. You have like how much? I think 6 or something. This one, the normal weapon lock, the Myrmidon Swordmaster weapon lock, the Erica lock, Ephraim lock, Lynn, and Athos lock. If you tick this box, let's say weapon lock 1, we tick that box. What happens if we tick a weapon, if we take a random weapon, let's say a steel bow, and we tick the weapon lock 1 on the steel bow? Only characters with the weapon lock 1 box ticked can use that bow. No others. No other characters can use that bow. It's used for making unique weapons. So let's say Seth is supposed to hold the broken bow, and it's only able to be used by Seth. Then you tick weapon lock 1 on Seth, and you tick the weapon lock 1 on the broken bow. So only Seth can use it and no one else. Alright, and this is the Myrmidon and Swordmaster lock. I'll untick this box real quick. The Myrmidon and Swordmaster lock is only for the Shamshir. Only Myrmidon, Swordmaster, and Assassins can use the Shamshir. And this is regularly set by class, but if you really want to, you can also set this for a character. So let's say we have a mercenary that has sort of a Myrmidon background and you want them to use the Shamshir. You can tick this box and they will be able to use the Shamshir. Fun thing, by the way, the Erica Lord classes also can use the Shamshir, even though they're not Myrmidons. This is monster weapons, allows for equipping monster weapons, self-explanatory. I really don't need to go into this further. Max level 10, as the name says, a unit caps at level 10. If you want to make a trainee or just a character that caps at level 10, tick this box. Disable unit select. When you try to do this, you cannot select the character. You cannot press A or A on the character, so you cannot move it. For a player character, this makes it so that the player character will stand in place and isn't able to do anything. For NPCs, they will move out of themselves, but NPCs couldn't be selected anyway. You shouldn't use this unless you have like a funny or shitposting like idea where you're like, haha, here you get the super strong unit, but it doesn't move. Triangle attack is set by character. Now, let's say we want Seth to use the triangle attack. We tick this box, and then we select 2 other characters with this triangle attack box, and they can use the triangle attack. You really need to play around a little bit with it. And the Armor Knight's triangle attack from FE6 is present in FE8. So you can also make an FE6 Armor Knight triangle attack if you really wanted to. Not really interesting or something, but you can do it if you like. I did it, and it's fun. NPC. I think this is just, you won't be able to move the character just like this one. But I haven't tried this one yet. I also do not know what it does. This is one of the only things in this entire sheet, together with a conversation group, where I do not know what it does. Do not grant experience is only for enemy units. When killing an enemy, this unit will not grant any experience. You could, and it prevents the silencer skill from activating, which I think is because final bosses in Fire Emblem games never grant levels. For an example, if you beat the Fire Dragon in Fire Emblem 7, I've never seen someone getting a level because of that. So that means that when using this, or when ticking this box, you will be immune to one-shots, as well as you won't grant any experience. This is for final bosses mostly. Silencer lethality. This is fun. Let's tick this box. This allows a character to use the lethality, so the one-hit KO, whenever they want. They can use this even though they're not in the assassin class. So for an example, Seth is a female sniper and should normally be able to do it. Screw it. We're going to do it. Seth has the ability to trigger the one-hit KO skill of the assassin now. Just because we ticked this box. You can really do some funny things with it. Oh, and by the way, this critical boost, what I have ticked the box for, it allows Seth to have a base 15 critical hit, regardless of his class. You could make the most broken character in the game by giving him this, the base 15 critical hit, and making them a sword master, so they have a base 30. That's really broken. Magic Seal, this is enemy only. If you have played Fire Emblem 7 and the guiding chapters, you will know that characters around a magic seal cannot use any form of magic. So, yeah, you can't use magic. This is enemy only. I've never tested it. You probably won't, because that was a pretty... I didn't think it was a fun game mechanic. It was pretty bad. Don't do it. Summoning. A unit must have this in the summon ability tool. There is a tool for that in FEBuilder. You must put a character in that list, and you must tick the box in the summoner classes, which is automatically done. Don't tick it here, because we could do that to just show that Seth... Oh wait, then we have to do that as... Hold on. Then we're going to change that real quick, allowing Seth to summon in a different class. I'm really funny, I know. You're hearing some sounds and not seeing anything. That is because I'm changing stuff. Don't worry. Alright, so what I've done now is I've set Seth to be able to summon... Seth is able to summon your good boy. Seth is able to summon the phantoms now. Seth will be able to summon phantoms, even though he isn't a summoner, which is fun. Erica lock and Ephraim lock lock weapons to only be used by Erica and Ephraim, for the rapier and Sieglind for Erica, and the Regan leaf and the Sieg Moon for Ephraim. And these are unused. If you want to create more custom weapons for more characters, you can tick those. I have used those in my hack as well. So, that is actually all you can do to change a character. Well, if you're being a little bit creative, you can come up with some really fun builds for characters. And as you can see, this is without the skills patch. So you can actually make some really fun gimmicky characters even without having a skill patch. So now we're going to test really quickly what we have created. The horrible, overpowered abomination that we have created. Let's run the game. And I've got to show it to you guys, of course, because what would the entire purpose of this video be if I couldn't show you guys what wonderful character we have created today. I think this is a pretty long tutorial, and that is only on just the characters, not on anything else but that. Ah, it's dark. Let's just, I don't know, stretch this to the entire screen, sure. And let's take a look. There you go. This is the screen. So let's quickly go to the main menu, start a new game. Oh, this looks pretty vanilla, Sacred Stones. I could send this to a friend and say like, hey, play this Fire Emblem game, and then this very overpowered Seth is part of your starting crew. Would be funny. So we're going to skip all of this. Event editing is pretty fun. Oh, wait. I screwed up. No. So before we... Seth is not a female sniper yet. That is because I haven't changed Seth's class in the unit placer. But look, Seth has a really crappy defense stat. We have changed his name to R.I.P Seth. We have changed the description to he's derp. And since he's still a cavalier, he can't, or still a paladin, we haven't seen some of the changes. So hold on. I'm going to change this real quick. I'm going to change Seth into a female sniper really quickly to show you guys how he functions. I'm going to give him a steel bow or something. Let's give him a steel bow, shall we? Just so we can show that he is able to attack. So we give him a steel bow. You guys won't see this, sadly enough. But this is only focusing on the character, not on units. That is why I'm doing this off screen. So go to Visual Boy that's not Visual Boy Advance. This is Visual Boy Advance. Thank you very much. Then we go quickly skip this, blah blah blah. You have to restart the chapter once you've made changes to anything aside from text and portraits, because the events need to load. Ah, did you see the beautiful talking frames of R.I.P Seth? So now we can see that after changing Seth, you can see that we have the wyvern icon I talked about. We have set that for him, which is pretty fun. The description is changed to he's derp, composed, and skilled, and his name has been changed. I've given him a steel bow just for combat's sake. And we have changed the weapon ranks, of course, so he could use bows, and that is also able to be seen here as well. And now, the grand moment has arrived. So we can see that Seth has access to summon, even though he's not a summoner. Alright, this is fun. As you can see, Seth has a base 22 critical hit rate. That is because we set the plus 15 extra base critical hit, which is pretty fun to do. If you just want to make gimmicky characters like this, you can do that. Alright, let's attack. Let's see if we trigger Silencer. No, we just trigger a regular critical hit. Seth is a generic... hold on for a second. Seth is a generic sniper with green hair. That is because you can change the palette here. That's the colors of a unit. I could go to that real quick and show you guys that real quick. Hold on. I need to quickly change that to the palette. Yo, where's the palette? I'm looking for the palette menu. Hold on. Could you please go to the palette? Do I have it opened? Yeah, I do have it opened. Huh. That's strange. Well, apparently it doesn't show up. That's bad. Let's go back to the Game Boy Advanced real quick. I'll teach you how to do palettes another time. Oh, by the way, as you can see, the mini mug has been changed into Bab. Haha, fun. We could have also set that to the generic, like, helmet you see here for the enemies, but we chose to keep the mini mug. So let's go back to Erica, because we gave her the dance ability. So Erica can dance, but the game freezes, and there's a good reason for that. That is because there's no dance animation set for Erica. So let's reset the ROM real quick. Oh. Restart the chapter because otherwise we're stuck in a soft lock. And now let's summon a phantom with Archer Seth. Now what's fun, oh, and we have Kanto enabled, of course. What is fun is that you can actually change a phantom to be able to summon, and you can summon a phantom with a phantom. You can actually do that if you change the code. Would be pretty fun to do that. Phantoms are flying characters, by the way. Let's just quickly watch combat. Oh, hey. Well, Erica's fine. This is just generic Erica. On normal mode. So now, let's see if we can trigger a silencer with Seth. Seth, silencer, please. Nope, that's just a regular critical hit. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter. So be sure to set a dancing animation for a character. You see Seth is blinking and talking with his weird portrait. I really wanted to show you guys that Seth can steal. I might be able to do that. Hold up. Let's go to the unit editor and give this fighter character guy a vulnerary. You're seeing this off screen. Let's close and run the emulator. You can do that on the main menu of FEBuilder. Pretty easy to find. You'll find the button yourselves. I'm sure of that. Alright, let's go back and restart the chapter because inventories have to reload. Alright. So this guy has a vulnerary. Seth, can you reach? Seth can reach, and we can steal, which is probably a little bit bad on an archer who can counter from close range because you have to go to the front lines to steal, but Seth can steal. That's pretty cool. So now let's try to help Seth because Seth's in trouble. Ouch. Erica, don't. You're gonna get me a game over. So now, if Erica doesn't die... There you go. Pretty good. Now let's skip this real quick. Ah, Erica, come on. Well, that is actually how you create... custom characters in Fire Emblem. That's just how you do it. You can apply certain skills, etc., etc. I've shown you some funny stuff you can do with a character, like making a dancing, summoning, critical hitting, stealing archer. Fun stuff. I'd like to say thank you for watching, and, you know, just, if you want to subscribe, you can, if you want to. Helps out the channel. Would be appreciated if you do. Leave a like. I don't know if I'm gonna make more tutorials. I do want to though, but these are pretty time consuming. I don't know, you'll see eventually. And all I have to say besides thank you for watching is just grab FEBuilder and try some stuff with this, with the stuff I've explained. Change characters, change stats, change the boxes, tick boxes, untick boxes, see what happens. Try to play around and teach yourself how to create a good or balanced character, or just the strangest character in existence. I'm XPGamesNL. I hope you enjoyed and I learned you something today. And I will see you somewhere else. Probably in one of my videos, or maybe just somewhere else entirely. Goodbye.